Upcoming this Thursday is the Chrism Mass, and many years ago, when I was a seminarian, somehow I found myself not assigned to a task, and thus sitting in the front row of the cathedral, and which was lovely. It was really nice to actually be able to watch and see and pay attention to the entirety of the Chrism Mass. Not to say that I did that, like I was focused the entire time, but that I had the ability to be, right? And during the consecration of the Chrism, Bishop Jacobs made a small mistake and spilled not a lot, but let's say a healthy tablespoon of the perfumed oil that's supposed to be that makes the chrism on the side of the container. Most of it got in there; it was fine, but they then take the sacred oils and they send them out the church. That's when they go get filled into the little containers that we get. But then they have to take the table and move it to the side so we could do Eucharist. And literally they moved the table in front of us, and the entire front row of seminarians all went, It's perfumed oil all walked past us, right? You think about that. Mary pops open this jar, and probably right away, like when somebody makes coffee, or they open up, maybe something you don't like, right? The whole room is filled with that smell. Mary opens this jar. Everyone knows what it is. And everyone knows how precious it is. And she starts to pour it on the feet of Jesus. Now contrast this with the event. Jesus and his disciples are in the temple, and they're watching people put money into the treasuries. And of course, he talks about how all these Pharisees, they come and they put large amounts, and they do it to be seen. And this one widow walks up, this one little old lady walks up with the 2 coins and puts them in the treasury and walks away. And Jesus says she put more in the treasury than everybody else. Now, compare and contrast this with Mary. The Pharisees put the money in the treasury, not to help the temple, not to help the poor, but because it made them feel good and it made them look good. Mary cracks open this jar of oil, which, by the way, we can figure out what that costs in the modern 300 days wages, minimum wage times 8 hours a day, times 12 hours a day, whatever, times 300 days. It's a year. That's what that costs. It's not a tremendous amount of money. It's not an unsurmountable amount of money, but it's a healthy chunk. It's a big enough amount that if it was suddenly missing, you and I would be upset. But it's not such a big amount that if there was something you really wanted to do, you could scrape that together. But she is legitimately offering this to Jesus. As opposed to, she's doing it for him, right? The scholars say she did it to prepare him for his burial because nobody else would. And she probably didn't know that's what she was doing. And she does this act of kindness to Jesus as a legitimate act of love and compassion and concern. And of course, what does Judas do? Hey, why didn't you sell that? Give it to the poor. There's a famous story. I want to say it's like Dorothy Day or something like that. Somebody walks in the house, donates this expensive ring. Think engagement ring, valuable, right? And the next poor person that walks into the kitchen, begging for money, Dorothy goes, here, take this. And one of the sisters goes, why would you do that? That could have been sold for so much money. Unwittingly, literally copying the words of Judas Iscariot in this gospel. And I don't remember if it was her, one of the other major charity saints in the U.S., but she goes back to the poor deserve pretty things too. And it's easy to get wrapped up in the same. Now, of course, the person helping her was not Judas. She was not trying to steal from the collections. It's a completely different thing. But we got to be careful, because it's far too easy to start to quote the wrong people in the Bible. Judas, Pilate, Caiaphas. Stick to Jesus.